Going live. Good evening, everybody on the plane. Hope y'all are well. Welcome to an impromptu live stream for some static plain truth. I will be your host this evening, John Morgile. I hope you do enjoy it. Just jumping right into it, the first thing that I wanted to start talking about was an update on the whole NASA Bennu OSIRIS-REx asteroid nonsense. So of course, OSIRIS-REx is the mission to outer space, to go and get samples from the asteroid Bennu. What's up, Phil Jones? So I got a couple articles that I'm going to read from, and we'll just kind of critique that stuff as we go. But I think we all sort of, if you're on this stream, we probably have a very similar opinion about everything outer space and asteroids and all that. And NASA in general, right? So it's all pretty much Narnia. It's nonsense, right? And so when we know that going in, it's really hard to even read through the crap that they spew out there about it. But I think we still kind of do have a responsibility to see where our tax dollars are going, right? Because still to this very day, we talk about taxation without representation, but to this very day, we still have just billions and billions of dollars going to NASA. Not to mention wars and stuff like that. Like I don't know too many Americans, unless they've got heavy investments in the war machine. I don't know too many Americans who are interested in spending their tax dollars on wars. But that's lo and behold, year after year, that's where our tax dollars tend to go. Yeah, NASA lies, says 60 million a day. So I know it was 52 million a day for a while, but you know how federal budgets are. They just keep going up and up and up, of course. So it's hard to be NASA. It's hard to be NASA. And so if you give them $50 million a day for years and years, sooner or later, that just ain't enough. That's baseline, dude. That's barely nominal. So yeah, you've got to start giving them $60 million a day. And, believe it or not, that sort of thing actually does begin to add up a little bit over time. I mean, I know it's hard to believe. But $52 million a day adds up. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. No, $52 million a day ain't enough because it's hard to be NASA. So really what they need more along the lines of $60 million a day, right? Because it is so very important that we pay our lying Freemasons to pretend to fly around in space and pretend to send satellites or whatever out to asteroids and collect samples, because that's so important, right? Like, how will we ever figure out the secrets to the universe without wasting our money just basically shoveling it into the bottomless pit that is black budget things and the lying Freemasons of NASA, right? So coming straight from the horse's mouth, we're gonna go through an article here, www.nasa.gov, news-release. NASA's Bennu asteroid sample contains carbon and water. Well, of course it does, right? Because carbon and water, those are the building blocks of life. And so we already know that since, I guess, wasn't it Werner von Braun that said once all of the other hoaxes are done, the last one's going to be the alien hoax, where they're gonna hit us with like a fake alien invasion. So of course the asteroid Bennu sample contains carbon and water, because next thing they're going to tell you that there's single-celled organisms in it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up finding little fossilized amoebas in there, right? Because, well, let's face it, when it comes to abiogenesis, like the origin of life stuff, these guys really don't have anywhere to go. Like it's pretty obvious that intelligent, or even just any kind of life in general, even very simplex single-celled life, can't just manifest from the ether on its own out of the chaos from sheer chance, right? They want us to believe that over billions of years in the primordial ooze of early planet Earth, the conditions were just right and lightning struck and the planets were aligned just perfectly so as to create the first simplex forms of life. And so, hold on, let me get this dog here. Come here, Lily. Quit clicking, clacking your feet around. Okay. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, so of course they're going to find, water and carbon in the asteroid Bennu right off the bat. So looking at this article right out the gate, I mean, they start laying it on very thick indeed. So quoting from nasa.gov here, it says, initial studies of the 4.5 billion year old asteroid Bennu sample collected in space and brought to Earth by NASA By the way, NASA means to deceive, or Nashah means to deceive in ancient Hebrew. But yeah, these samples show evidence of high carbon content in water, which together could indicate the building blocks of life on Earth may be found in the rock. Right, so I guess where I was going with that whole thing was that they can't explain how early Earth, like prebiotic early Earth, could have possibly created the organic chemistry just out of sheer chance in order to develop even things like sugars and amino acids, let alone complex codices like DNA. And so they have the whole theory of like transpermia, right? So, oh, well, it happened on some other planet off in space. And so that ties into that nicely, but let's not go right past that first sentence, okay? Because before they've even studied the damn thing, so basically all we know is, well, it's dirt and it's got water and carbon in it. That's all we know about it. But they also know automatically right off the gate that it's 4.5 billion years old, right? They know that. They didn't even have to look at it. They knew that before they even came back with the samples. So, I mean, honestly, like what kind of science is that, right? I mean, they've got their model. They've got their model where the asteroid belt is, is what that is. We won't get into that, right? But yeah, of course, the asteroid Bennu is 4.5 billion years old. And how old do they? Come on, boo boo. How old did they claim the Earth itself is? Do they say that the Earth is 4 billion? Let's see. How old is spherical planet Earth? Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't put spherical. We'll just do planet Earth. Oh, 4.543 billion years. Okay, so yeah, so Earth, they say, is 4.543 billion years old, and asteroid Bennu is 4.5 billion years old. So I guess what they're saying is, what we should sort of deduce from that is that there could have been life on other planets way before Earth even existed. And so it's not really that big of a mystery why we have life on Earth, because, we've got rocks flying through space for billions of years that has the building blocks for life, or maybe even little microbial things in it. And so, of course, we all came from a space rock. And, if you look at the shtick of evolution, it's just so counterintuitive, so nonsensical. They actually claim with a straight face and brand it with the term science, so it must be true, right? But they claim with a straight face that both flora and fauna, so plant and animal life, has a common ancestor, right? That's what they claim. So what they're basically saying is that we're all cousins to one another. We're all cousins to apes. We're all cousins to hummingbirds. And not to mention, we're all cousins to pickles. And we're all cousins to acorns and alfalfa sprouts. Everything, all life is related because we all have this common ancestor. And, so you've got, like, I don't know if you guys follow Dr. James Tour out of Rice University. He's a biochemist. He's a chemist. I don't want to say he's a biochemist, but he actually did a debate with Professor Dave Farino, and that thing was brutal. But Dave was shilling the whole time. He doesn't know really you can tell he doesn't know the first thing about chemistry. But he pushed Dr. Tor's button to the point where he got the dude screaming and yelling on stage because, that's just how they do. That's how the shills do. They won't actually debate you on the facts. What they do is they push your buttons to get reactions out of you so that you end up ripping your hair out, screaming at them, wanting to cuss them out. But where was I going with that? So the whole thing is prebiotic Earth, that there isn't enough time in this, even in the billions of years that they claim prebiotic Earth was just stewing as this primordial ooze, eventually randomly creating the first forms of life. But so what could be gleaned from this Bennu sample is that, yeah, it's transpermia. So life didn't originate here, dum-dum. Couldn't have. It came from outer space. Life came from outer space, right? And of course, we know that's ridiculous because, well, outer space requires the concept of spinning ball Earth, right? And so, if the Earth doesn't have curvature, and if the Earth doesn't spin around and there's no evidence for all the motion that's necessary for the standard ball Earth model, then infinite space and the asteroid belt and all the other terra firma planets goes right out the window, from the gate. And so there is no such thing as the asteroid belt as they claim. Sure, we do see things like meteor showers and we've got shooting stars, but I've never seen any direct evidence that those are rocks flying through space. What I believe that's more likely is going to be the lighter than air gases like, helium and hydrogen and nitrogen that find their way up above the troposphere, naturally defying the law of gravity, right? So it's not like gas goes down, goes boom, boom. Gas inherently defies the law of gravity. And so I believe that we have a conglomeration of these lighter than air gases at super high altitudes that at some point will condense and maybe even crystallize and eventually precipitate. So like rain or hail or snow of these crystalline lighter than air gases that when they come in contact with the oxygen rich atmosphere or atmosphere, if you will, they will ignite sometimes, right? And I believe that makes a lot more sense than rocks falling from the sky and igniting when they hit the air. I've never seen any evidence of if you accelerate a rock fast enough through the air that it lights up like a match and catches fire. I mean, to me, that's rather absurd. But if it's something like, if it's got nitrogen and other lighter than air gases in a crystalline structure, at the velocity that they're falling through the sky and then hit the oxygen rich troposphere, sure, that sort of thing actually makes some degree of sense to me that it would ignite and burn up. Because, I mean, let's face it, you've got, I want to say Crater Lake, but you've got, even in the United States, you've got these big craters that are attributed to like meteors, right? So it's supposed to be a crater from a meteor, but more and more like the evidence suggests that those are actually like underground bubblings up of gases and stuff like that. And so wherever you find these alleged asteroid strikes and these craters that are attributed to meteors, you never actually find the meteor that was supposedly left that hole. Right, and that actually makes a lot of sense if it is lighter than air gases that crystallized and then condensed and precipitated back down. Of course, any trace of the meteor would just evaporate back up to the to the higher levels up there. So that makes a lot of sense. But of course, NASA, in all their wisdom, they knew they didn't even have to look at the damn thing, didn't even have to wait for it to come back. They knew that the asteroid was 4.5 billion years old. So that is I don't know if they check their tarot cards for that. I don't know if where they're getting that. And I guess it's because the whole thing with the asteroid belt being that old, that's like part of their model. And their model is carved in stone. And so, yeah, they just knew that it was 4.5 billion years old going in. Didn't even have to look at it. So, yeah, it's full of high carbon content and water, which together could indicate the building blocks of life. And NASA, and again, quoting from the article here, NASA made the news Wednesday from its Johnson Space Center in Houston, where leadership and scientists showed off the asteroid material for the first time since it landed in September. Question the answer says they were thinking earlier how when they tried to say a comet started life on Earth and then an asteroid will destroy it. Right, yeah, of course, because we all know how explosions are constructive, right? I mean, that doesn't violate any laws of, say, like entropy or even just basic logical things. Yeah, life comes from explosions. Structure, the entire structure of the universe comes from a giant explosion called the Big Bang. Everybody knows that, right? It makes perfect sense. Rune Dragon says, NASA never gives me an answer to the question, how does a weak-powered EMF transmission from Earth make it through the Van Allen belt's deadly high electromagnetic field to any craft supposed to be millions of miles away? Yeah, indeed. Anybody who studies how radio frequency waves work will tell you that over long distances, you've got path loss. You've got basically entropy or the path loss of radio frequencies makes it really difficult, especially over very, very long distances. And then when you've got stuff in the way, like the atmosphere of the Earth, or like the ionized plasma tubes in the lower Magnetis plane, or like the Van Allen belts, as the commenter said, yeah, how is it that they're communicating with these satellites even tens of thousands of miles away? Yeah, it's absurd. But so it says, so NASA made the news Wednesday from its Johnson Space Center in Houston, where leadership and scientists showed off the asteroid material for the first time since it landed in September. And they've got a picture of it. And I guess what I can do is I'll just turn this around and show y'all the picture of what they're claiming is space dust. Sorry if it's aggravating. I can't see what I'm showing you, so hopefully y'all are getting it. But it looks like a bunch of dirt is what it looks like. And of course, we're supposed to take that as evidence that, NASA sent their little Osiris Rex craft, which, of course, Osiris was the Egyptian god of the underworld. Rex means king. So it's like the undead king went and got the space dust so that, we could confirm that life came from outer space. Of course, makes perfect sense. Back to the quote. This finding was part of a preliminary assessment of NASA's OSIRIS-REx. And again, we do have to tell you what the OSIRIS-REx anagram stands for, because they got a couple guys at NASA that get paid like $500,000 a year just to come up with neat anagrams, and he really earned his paycheck on this one. So what it means is Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, and Security Regolith Explorer Science Team. That's right, OSIRIS-REx. Say that shit 10 times fast. Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, and Security Regolith Explorer Science Team. I mean, it's hard to be NASA, dude. It is. It's hard to be NASA, so they have to really, they got to make sure that that's conveyed in every name of every mission that they do. You know what I mean? Okay, so now we're going to go back to the quote, and it seems like we're actually quoting NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. He says, quote, "The OSIRIS-REx sample is the biggest carbon-rich asteroid sample I've ever delivered to the Earth, and will help scientists, or lientists, investigate the origins of life on our own planet for generations to come." Yeah, well, isn't that funny that, because honestly, I haven't even read this article yet, but isn't it funny that they're quoting Bill Nelson talking about origins of life? So basically, it seems to me like they've pretty much already decided that, this is an origin of life thing, because really they've painted themselves into a corner with a lot. If you follow the origin of life debate, the atheists they're screwed. Like, there is totally a boneheaded, like their entire position is boneheaded. And of course, so what they do is, just like the Globetards do, they always double down on their lies, right? So they will never admit when they're clearly wrong. They never admit when all of the evidence is totally against them. Well, because all the science books agree with them. You know what I mean? So they'll never admit that they're wrong. So they're constantly doubling down on the bullshit. And what that means is ultimately they paint themselves into a corner. They've got nowhere to go but to double down on all their freaking lies, right? But it appears that Bill Nelson, NASA administrator, has already decided that, even though they just got this damn thing like a couple of weeks ago, I don't even think it's been 3 weeks, and they've decided that it's 4.5 billion years old and potentially is the origin of all life. So, we're not cousins with an Earth rock in the primordial soup. We're cousins with a space rock and pickles and sour cream and all the rest, right? More or less, we're cousins with all tacos, is what they're saying. Religion of Gravity says, "Looking well, Morgile." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Much appreciated. Heavy comment section here, guys, and for some reason it always gives me grief trying to look at it. Not easy being cheesy. Yeah, indeed. Oh, I must have subliminally picked up the cheesy part, because I had cheese on the brain too. Okay, so continuing on with the quote. Origin of life. So he says, this is still Bill Nelson quote, "Almost everything we do at NASA seeks to answer questions about who we are and where we come from." Well, it makes sense then. You want to fly around in space and dig up dirt, because if you're trying to find out who you came from, then you're definitely going to want space rocks and dirt, because Bill Nelson, NASA administrator, is a flighty dirtbag. Okay, so NASA missions like OSIRIS-REx will improve our understanding of asteroids that could threaten Earth, while giving us a glimpse into what lies beyond. Well, okay, so yeah, you gotta take them as they come, man. Some asteroids create life on Earth, some asteroids destroy life on Earth. So it would be, the full circle of life coming back around to, coming back around for the old musical chairs, right? The sample has made it back to Earth, but there is still so much science to come. Science like we've never seen before. End quote from Bill Nelson, NASA administrator. So let's back up the wagon. Science is merely establishing cause and effect relationships for naturally occurring phenomenon, right? So the first step in the scientific method is observe a naturally occurring phenomenon, and then you sort of make hypothesis, do experiment, which is hypothesis tests. You either confirm your hypothesis or confirm your null and move on. But dirt, I'm sorry, but dirt picked up from space by the lying Freemasons, who, I'm here to tell you guys, people can't go to space. Whisper, whisper, just so you know. But you can't, like, dirt is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. So where's your independent, or where's your dependent variable there, right? So it's like dirt, therefore what? Like, oh, dirt, therefore 4.5 billion years old. Dirt, therefore carbon and water, therefore life came from space. So, but that is telling that they're saying here, just in the first couple paragraphs, that they're mentioning origin of life. They're mentioning carbon and water, which, of course, carbon and water are the primary building blocks of life, right? So if you were to like take a human being and put him in a blender and hit puree, and then put that shit under a mass spectrometer, you're going to find mostly carbon and water, right? So therefore, you're cousins with a rock, obviously. I don't think so. I mean, sure, we have the same building blocks within us, but me personally, I think that the evidence for the divine creator of all things is everywhere. Like, you've really got to be blind and brainwashed to not see it. Just the simple things like DNA code are far too complex to have been, manifest from chance chaos in the primordial ooze, as they claim. It's just, you have to have an intelligent designer or a coder to wind up with code, right? Like if you were to stumble upon a laptop in the middle of the desert, so you're wandering around in the desert and you trip on a laptop in the middle of the desert, and you open it up and hit the button and it powers on. And then not only does it power on and start running scripts and running programs, but then somehow it also starts to self-replicate and creates a bunch of other laptops that are also seem to function perfectly well and power themselves somehow. And would you think that laptop just sort of appeared from the ether on its own volition? Like, would you assume that it sprang forth from, from a lily pad or something? Like, no, obviously, the fact that this technology exists is a testament to the high technology that was used to create it. And so similarly, life, even the most simplex forms of life, so we'll say like single-celled organisms, are extremely complex. Have you ever seen what's going on inside of a cell? It's like a little factory. It's super complex, right? It's got lots of moving parts. It's got DNA. It's smart, although it doesn't have a brain. It's a master chemist. Like, cells are spectacular. It's really quite amazing. But to assume that life spontaneously came about on its own volition from nothing is just absurd. Like, it really is ridiculous. And furthermore, evolution is also similarly very ridiculous, in my opinion. So long and short of it is, the proof of God, if you really want proof of God, pinch yourself, damn it, because the fact that we exist and we're here talking, having this conversation, is proof that there is a divine, supernatural, intelligent creator, right? And anybody who doesn't believe that is deluded, they're fooling themselves, and sorry to say, they're most likely going to be a globetard. No offense to the globetards who may be out there watching. But I think that is really one of the main reasons that they hit us with the globe earth indoctrination at such a young age, is because, well, if you can convince people of that, dude, you can convince them of pretty much freaking anything, right? So furthermore, if you study things like public relations, subliminal programming, mass mind control, advertising, a good umbrella term for all that would be advertising. You'll find that if you can confound a person or a group of people's core belief system, then you've essentially primed them to be in a perfect position for mind control. And so essentially, whatever comes over the idiot box, whatever comes over the TV and is purported by news anchors, asserted by figures of authority, people just freaking believe it. And it's easy to think of them as sort of enemies because they hate our guts, right? Like, if they realize that you're a flurfer, they automatically think you're stupid and they hate you. But we got to remember, we were all there at one point, right? So anyways, going back to the quote, it says, so he says, we're going to science like we've never scienced before on this one. Wow. So although more work is needed to understand the nature of the carbon compounds found, well, no, you don't say. I thought they just freaking knew everything the instant that the thing landed. I mean, they knew how old it was, right? They started the conversation about origin of life before the thing even landed. But anyway, so they're saying more work is needed to understand the nature of the carbon compounds found. The initial discovery bodes well for future analyses of the asteroid sample. Well, you don't say. So I guess you could say in NASA terms, it's nominal. The secrets held within the rocks and dust from the asteroid will be studied for decades to come. But why? I mean, I thought they already knew everything. Offering insights into how our solar system was formed, how the precursor materials to life may have been seeded on Earth, and what precautions need to be taken to avoid asteroid collisions with our home planet. They can tell all that from dirt. They can tell all that from dirt? Like, how? Like, I don't understand. Like, and I know, they've got all kinds of super expensive scientifical gadgets, and they're doing lots of experiments that aren't really experiments, and so they freaking know everything. But like, how did they know all this already from some dirt? That's just, it's absolutely crazy. It's nonsense in my opinion, but okay. Precursor materials of life may have been seeded on Earth. So not only can they tell how to avoid asteroid collisions from a little pile of dirt, they can also tell how life may have been seeded, intelligent transpermia, from some dirt, and also the precursor materials, or how the solar system was formed from a little pile of dirt. Wow, dude. Wow. Oh, and then we've got bonus sample material. So it says the goal of the King Osiris, king of the Egyptian undead, sample collection was 60 grams of asteroid material. 60 grams. I wonder how much that is street value. Curation experts at NASA Johnson, working in a new clean rooms built especially for the mission. Though I wonder how many billions of dollars that cost. So let's see. I am curious to know how much our tax dollars went into building these new clean rooms for NASA. So let's see if I can figure that out with a quick search. Price tag for clean rooms built especially for Osiris Rex sample. Oh, and you know what? It linked me right to this article. So, and wouldn't it be funny if this is the first article ever mentioning this new clean room that they built especially for the mission? But yeah, anyway, I'm not seeing a price tag on that clean room. We can see how much did Osiris Rex cost. So they say Osiris Rex costs $1.16 billion. Just a drop in the bucket when it comes to NASA's annual budget, so it's really not nothing. It says $588.5 million, so over $500 million, was spent on spacecraft development because they didn't get it right the first 5 million times they did it, even though they claimed that they sent spacecrafts all the way to frickin' Jupiter back in the 1970s with the likes of Pioneer 10, which I've done videos on and was an absolute farce, a bunch of damn nonsense. But they had to figure out how to do it again, so they had to research and develop new technologies to do some shit they claim that they've done a bunch of times already. 183.5 million on its launch vehicle. 9 years of prime mission operations are expected to cost $283 million. So they don't even mention here in this breakdown what they spent on building this brand new clean room just for this asteroid. But, you know, part of me kind of has this sneaking suspicion, well, you know, since space doesn't actually exist and NASA is a pack of damn liars, that perhaps, just perhaps, NASA might actually not be spending that kind of money on things like clean rooms. I'm just saying, might be the case. So they say these clean rooms built especially for the missions have spent 10 days so far carefully disassembling the sample return hardware to obtain a glimpse at the bulk sample within. When the science canister lid, that's so funny. They call it a science canister lid. That's so freaking stupid, dude. I'm sorry, but they're like, where's my acronym guy, dude? Like, he's slipping. Science canister lid? That doesn't work. We're gonna have to fire whoever came up with that name and get our regular acronym guy. I mean, he's got to earn a paycheck somehow. It's hard to be NASA, I'm telling you. Okay, so when the science canister lid, the SCL, was first opened, scientists discovered bonus asteroid material covering the outside of the collector head, canister lid, and the base. Wow, bonus asteroid material, what do you know? There was so much extra material, it slowed down the careful process of collecting and containing the primary sample. What, dude? That's so stupid. So you're telling me that thing fell through the sky and like re-entered the atmosphere plane at freaking thousands of miles an hour and the dust stuck to the outside edge of the science canister? Dude, that's so stupid. Like, and people believe this crap, man. Oh my God. So the fact that they got bonus material from the asteroid was just, it was a big hassle. Yeah. So we're gonna quote Vanessa Weech, director of NASA's Johnson. Yeah, I bet she directs some Johnson. She says, quote, "Our labs were ready for whatever Bennu had in store for us," said Vanessa Weech, director of NASA's Johnson. "We've had scientists and engineers working side by side for years to develop specialized glove boxes, whatever, and tools." I bet she developed some tools to keep the asteroid material pristine and curate the samples so researchers now and decades from now can study this precious gift from the cosmos. You mean a pile of dirt that NASA like scooped out of probably a toilet somewhere? Like it's the sludge from the bottom of a frickin' porta-john, in my humble opinion. Or at least you can tell more about the origins of life from the bottom of a frickin' porta-john than you can from this nonsense that definitely didn't come from space, because damn it, space doesn't exist. FFS. So end quote. Oh, there was end quote before that. She didn't say all that, but you get the picture. Within the first 2 weeks, scientists performed quick look analyses. Yeah, really, they need to fire whoever's coming up with their acronyms these days, man. He sucks, dude. He sucks. Quick look analyses of that initial material, collecting images from a scanning electron microscope, infrared measurements, X-ray diffraction, and chemical element analysis. X-ray computed tomography was also used to produce a 3D computer model of one of the particles, highlighting its diverse interior. This early glimpse provided the evidence of abundant carbon and water in the sample. Well, of course it did, because now they're going to tell us that we're all cousins to freaking E.T. and potatoes and lizards and birds and little butt mud over there too, of course. So let's quote Dante Loretta. He says, quote, "As we peer into the ancient secrets preserved within the dust and rocks of asteroid Bennu, we are unlocking a time capsule that offers us profound insights into the origins of our solar system," said Dante Loretta, Osiris Rex, principal investigator, University of Arizona, Tucson. And, you know, here's the thing, man. I totally believe that these characters, you know, they actually believe what they're saying. You know, they were all definitely indoctrinated into the cult of Baal, into the cult of scientism, since they were just gullible little kids too. And of course, they've made a very comfortable living off of this sort of science, in air quotes. And so, of course, like they're not lying. They actually totally believe this nonsense, and they've got no reason not to believe it. I mean, really. Why would the government, in all of their wisdom, dump billions of dollars into something that wasn't real? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they ever do such a thing? I mean, could it be Satan? Could it be mind control? Could it be $60 million a day? Could it be they want us all convinced that we're cousins with a freaking pickle? I mean, I think that may have something to do with it. He goes back, continues the quote, "The bounty of carbon-rich material and the abundant presence of water-bearing clay minerals are just the tip of the cosmic iceberg." Water-bearing clay minerals. Like clay, and I'm sorry, but like, let me just see, like, what is clay made of? I mean, I'm no geologist, but hold on. What is clay made of? So they're talking about silica, alumina, or magnesia, or both, and water. But iron substitutes for aluminum and magnesium in varying degrees, and appreciable quantities of potassium, sodium, and calcium are frequently present as well. So what are they talking about? Like clay minerals in an asteroid? I don't know, man. It seems to me this is just absolute nonsense. Silica is on Mercury. Well, okay, I hate to say this, brother, whoever left that comment, I can't see, Thomas Jefferson. Mercury, dude, is a light in the sky, brother. Mercury is not it's not a terra firma planet that we can travel to potentially. It's a wandering star. It's up in the firmament. It's a light in the sky. And so for you to say that Mercury has, Mercury has silica on it, and who told you that? NASA? Okay, look, man. Venus and Mercury, first of all, in the inner solar system, watch some of my videos about that. They are not, like, the heliocentric model doesn't work. Like, we observe fully lit Venus, for example, way after sunset, which is geometrically impossible according to the very geometry of the standard model. And so for people to claim that Mercury has whatever on it it's absurd. Anyways, continuing with the quote, "These clay minerals are just the tip of the cosmic iceberg. These discoveries, made possible through years of dedicated collaboration and cutting-edge science, propel us on a journey to understand not only our celestial neighborhood, but also the potential for life's beginnings." That's like the 5th time they've mentioned origin of life. So that's definitely where they're going with this nonsense. They want us to believe that we're all freaking space aliens, dude. That's where they're going with it. With each revelation from Bennu, we draw closer to unraveling the mysteries of our cosmic heritage. And you know, the thing is, because of the fact that they can't, scientists, in air quotes, scientists have been trying to replicate origin of life conditions on prebiotic Earth for a long time. They've been trying their damnedest to replicate like origin of life stuff. And for all their trying and all their posturing and chest beating, they can't create a single cell from scratch, and they can't create a single seed from scratch. Nothing. So basically, they're going to kick the can down the road by saying, well, it didn't happen on prebiotic Earth. No, it happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Because see, they've already learned with NASA, once they shelve this nonsense into the realm that is totally non-demonstrable, totally non-falsifiable, so they shelve it up in freaking infinite space, they're scot-free. They can make entire careers off of that nonsense for generations, and nobody has the capability to refute any of their claims, because it is beyond the ability for people to falsify. They love that shit, man. That's how they thrive on it. Now, of course, that isn't science. You can't call that science. Science is, by definition, demonstrable and falsifiable and all of that. And so it's just the gall of these people. But again, I don't think that they're even necessarily being intentionally deceptive. They've drank the damn Kool-Aid, bro. Oh, man, celestial neighborhood, but also the potential for life's beginnings. With each revelation from Bennu, we draw closer to unraveling the mysteries of our cosmic heritage. Yeah, they're laying it on thick. I'm telling you, man, within the next 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if they tell us that we're all cousins to freaking E.T. and Pickles and everything else. I mean, they already tell us that we're cousins to Pickles, but now we're also going to be cousins to E.T. Okay, so end quote. For the next 2 years, the mission's science team will continue characterizing, I would say caricaturing, but continue characterizing the samples and conduct the analysis needed to meet the mission's science goals. And what are their mission science goals, I wonder? It says NASA will preserve at least 70% of the sample at Johnson. And I think they probably named that one right. Johnson is fitting because they're a bunch of, bite my lip. Sample at Johnson for further research by lionists worldwide, including future generations of lionists. As part of OSIRIS-REx's science program, a cohort of more than 200 lionists around the world will explore the regolith's properties, including researchers from many U.S. institutions, NASA partners, JAXA, CSA, the Canadians, and other scientists from around the world. So I wonder what the odds of a bloke like me getting my hands on some of that space dust will be. And I wonder if Drunkle Buzz will start selling it. And I wonder if it will turn out to be like, petrified wood that he was selling before and got caught, right? Or wasn't it like, I think the United States government got caught red-handing giving out moon rocks to like some foreign country. I forget who it was. But yeah, they were giving out moon rocks to foreign countries, to dignitaries as like high-priced gifts. And it turned out that the moon rocks were actually just, it was just freaking petrified wood. So it's hard to be NASA, man. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make it, right, NASA? Right. NASA's Goddard, wait, did I skip something? Yeah, Canadian agency. Additional samples will also be loaned later this fall to the Smithsonian Institution. Well, why the hell they want to do that? Smithsonian Institution are the ones that like bury, cover up the giant skulls and stuff, right? Smithsonian Institution, Space Center Houston, and the University of Arizona for public display. Wow, dude, wow. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland provides overall mission management, systems and engineering, and the safety and mission assurance for OSIRIS-REx. Loretta, the principal investigator, leads the science team and the mission's science observation planning and data processing. I mean, dude, just because someone says the word science over and over and has like science in their titles doesn't mean that they're actually doing science. I'm sorry to say, like, what they're doing isn't science. You have to have naturally observed phenomenon in order to create hypothesis and then experiments in order to test the hypothesis in order to technically be doing science. Sure, you can say that you're doing research. You can say that you're doing activities. You can say that you're doing all sorts of things, but you can't say you're doing science. You're stealing the valor of actual science because, damn it, science proves things. And by saying the word science, like the gullible public just sort of automatically thinks that these things are proved. Present company excluded, of course. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland provides overall mission management. Oh, so we're down to Loretta, principal investigator. Okay, so Lockheed Martin Space, Littleton, Colorado, built the spacecraft, allegedly, provided flight operations, and was responsible for capsule recovery. Yeah, I bet they did. And of course, isn't Lockheed Martin famous for like weapons of war? Like, don't they do mainly weapons? Isn't that one of their main things? I want to say Lockheed does like the Boeing 7, like the Boeing stuff too. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But so of course, we just got to dump more taxpayer dollars to Lockheed Martin to fake space and pretend to collect samples from the asteroids, right? OSIRIS-REx is the third mission in NASA's New Frontier program, managed by NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, for the Science Mission Directorate at NASA headquarters in Washington. So that's the end of that first article there. Anyone who says that NASA is out of the game and now they've passed the baton on to SpaceX, just read them and weep, man. NASA ain't going anywhere. NASA is a very lucrative and successful money laundering application that's been going on since the 60s. They're not going to stop it. Actually, I think since the 50s. Really since the late 40s, since Operation Paperclip, I believe is when NASA started, was right around the time the United States government brought in Nazi scientists from after the World War II. That's when I think it was NADA or NACA became NASA, and they've been faking space and lying about this crap ever since. Like, they never missed a beat, and they never had a year where they didn't get more money than last year, right? So it's hard to be NASA, let me tell you.